Welcome back. Today we are going to learn about using the terminal to interact with your computer. Git was originally designed to be used through the command line, so before we start learning Git, we'll have to learn how to interact with our computer through the terminal. But first, what exactly is the terminal? On a day-to-day basis, we interact with our computers using the graphical user interface in our operating system. That means that we click on folders and we navigate using this GUI, graphical user interface, to get from folder to folder. The terminal is another way to interact with our computer. Imagine that your computer is a maze, and there are rooms in the maze, and there are doors to get from room to room in the maze. The terminal is like physically being inside of a room in the maze, while the graphical user interface is analogous to having a bird's eye view on top of the maze. The bird's eye view is great for understanding how rooms connect and how to go from room to room. But the terminal gives you a much closer level understanding of what's happening in each room, and the terminal gives you a much lower level access to all of the aspects of each room. That's why we use the terminal, and that's why we'll be using the terminal to interact with Git. Let's start by opening up the terminal. Make this a little bigger. So first, it's always important to try to get your bearings. Just as if this was a maze, our first goal would be to try to get our bearings and then understand where we can go from where we currently are. So the first command that we're going to learn is pwd. pwd stands for print working directory, and that's exactly what it does. It prints a path that describes where we currently are in our computer's folder hierarchy. So we are inside of the Gitl folder, which is inside of the users folder. Now, these folders are separated by slashes, and those are the delimiters that make this an actual path of folders. So once we know where we currently are, our next step is to figure out where we can go from here. And ls is the command to list out all of the folders and files in our current working directory. So from here, once we type ls, we can see that we have an applications folder, a downloads folder, desktop, etc. And ls lists all of these folders as well as files, if we had any here, that we can interact with from our current room or folder. So once we decide that, okay, we have all of these folders at our disposal, let's go to the desktop folder. We can change our directory to go into that desktop folder. And the command for that is cd, which stands for change directory. Now with cd, we need to give it a location to go to. So we're going to cd into desktop. And now if we pwd, if we print our working directory, it shows that our path is now the desktop folder, which is inside of those previous two folders. So from here, we can ls again and look at all of the files and folders that we can get to. Gitkraken is a folder that I have on the desktop that we can see using the graphical user interface of our computer. Now ls is a short listing. We can also get a long listing, which is part of the power of the terminal, where we can get a lot more information than we would have with just the graphical user interface. You get a long listing by putting a -l modifier on the ls command. ls-l will give you a long listing of all of the files and folders inside of your current working directory. So it shows us Git cracking, and it shows us the permissions on it, who owns it, the created at time or last modified time, etc. And this gives us a lot of useful information that we can then use to understand more about the folders in our current working directory. So what if we wanted to go back? The command for that is still changing the directory, but now we want to change the directory to the previous one. The command for that is cd dot dot. Dot dot stands for the previous, the parent directory of what you're currently on. So at any given point in time, you can cd dot dot to get to the parent directory or go back one step. And we can see that our current directory is now one level up from the desktop where we previously were. So you can also use cd to get to some given paths that are stored in your computer. One of them is tilde, which stands for the home directory. Now, if I cd tilde, I will always get to /users/Ketel. So if I cd into desktop and then cd tilde, I will always get back to home. You can also cd /, which is the root directory of your computer. If we pwd here, it'll give us just that first root. And from here, if we ls, we'll see that this is really the root of our computer. It has a bunch of stuff that we may not have interacted with that really make up the kind of root of our computer and the root of our folder structure. These are the three basic commands that we need to interact with our computer. pwd, print working directory, ls, which gives us a short listing, and cd to change directories. Now remember, with cd, we can also change to the parent directory using cd ... So let's go back to our home directory and let's play around with this a little bit. From here, we can always ls to figure out where we can go and then go into those folders. So let's now cd into desktop and figure out where we can go. cd into get kraken. From here, if you start typing a folder path and then press tab, it'll finish it for you. So we can cd into that. ls, we see get with j, so we can cd into that as well. And from any given path, we can always go back to our home directory. Cool. In the next video, we'll explore some more advanced terminal commands so that we can get more and more familiar with the terminal.